Oh, how far we've come. The electric guitar has been around for nearly 100 years, and today we're going to see just how far we've come in development by comparing one of the first with one of the most recent. Not to sound like too much of an alarmist, but everything that has ever happened in the past. That's why it's got ED at the end, because it's old.
Erectile dysfunction, ED.
But in the early 1900s, somebody invented something known as the future. And lucky for you, we're there now. We live in a utopia filled with clean air and water, anti-gravity flying cars. Everyone is happy, everyone has everything they need, and guitars have become so incredibly advanced that they basically play themselves. Let's have a look. And today, on the Ottoman, hate to be the Ottoman out, we've got a guitar from the very distant past, from 1935, and a guitar from the future, 2025. Yes, I know, I'm making this video in late 2026, but 91 years doesn't sound right. So I'm doing 90 years of progress. So here we go. For our 1935 example, we have the very first run of Bakelite Rickenbacher Electro Spanish guitars. And in the Gen Z corner, we have all of the modern advances of guitar making put into one single instrument, including a fourth latch. This one only has two latches, lame. And we are looking at whatever this is. Looks like a Gibson-inspired Eastman SB55DC TV. Now, why did I choose this particular guitar? Well, I was at Tapestry Music and they were kind enough to lend me a guitar. And this was the one with the specs most similar to the Rickenbacher. The single bridge pickup, yada, yada, yada. Yada yada. So today we're gonna A/B these, we're gonna tone test them, and we're gonna compare the qualities, attributes, and features of a brand new guitar and one of the first guitars ever made. And maybe we'll even look at some stepping stones along the way, like 1965 and 1985. This was the first commercially viable electric guitar with as solid a body as it could be. Because it is Bakelite, it's very heavy despite its very small stature, and due to that, they added various cavities and then covered them with these awesome chrome plates. While this may not be solid body, conventionally speaking, it's as solid as it could be without weighing 50 pounds. And the chambers are not said to be considered acoustic chambers, they are just weight relief chambers. Now, solid body guitar is not a new idea. Lloyd Loar of Gibson fame came out with a line of instruments called Vivatone prior to this, and they had something known as a skeleton body, and he put it in one of his 1932 or 33 patents that not having a resonating chamber was essential to amplifying an instrument without undue feedback. And 3 years prior to this instrument, Rickenbacher did have electric guitars out as well that were more conventionally shaped and made out of wood. But really the most critical component was the pickup, which was developed by George Beauchamp. Yeah, all these guys pronounce their names wrong. Don't shoot the messenger. The Eastman uses a Lawler P90, which has about 9K ohms of resistance, which probably translates to a 43 AWG wire with an Alnico magnet. These Rickenbacher coils can be anywhere from 1.8 to nearly 3K ohms of 38 AWG wire, which is a much thicker wire. 38 AWG is more like a beard hair, and 43 AWG is more like a fine hair from one's head. A lot of people conflate resistance readings with output, hence the 24K ohm resistance humbuckers of the 80s. But realistically, it is the placement of your coil with relation to the strings and the placement of the magnetic field with relation to your strings that really defines the audio output and coloration of your tone. And the large horseshoe magnets are a tungsten steel or cobalt steel alloy. Here is just a quick side-by-side of construction. You see a bobbin with a coil, same. In the case of the P90, there's two Alnico magnets going towards a central steel retainer for the pole pieces, whereas these pole pieces just go to the bottom of the bobbin, which is screwed in, and touch the magnet And then, of course, the magnetic field is continued all around the strings. And these magnets are the same polarity, meaning like this is north, north, south, south, like facing each other. Which is the same with the P90 because the pole all has to be one polarity, and that's why these need to be retained like this, because obviously two north poles or two south poles will push against each other rather than be attracted to one another. The main reason smaller magnets are used now is because A, they were discovered, B, they are cheaper, C, it is much easier to deal with. Like, look at how much material it is, and for playability, this is kind of in the way. However, the string through magnetic field design was very popular. In fact, Fender's first pickup was called the Boxcar, and he later had a trapezoid pickup as well with the string through coil, which is very popular on the National and Supro lap steel pickups, on the Supro Ozark, and even on some early 40s K pickups as well. I should point out, however, that yes, the Fender pickups, as I said, were string through coil. So not only were they passing through the magnetic field, they were passing through the center of the coil of wire as well. But there have been advances, right? Like, for instance, the humbucking pickup. In this 1985 guitar, you see the double-coiled pickup known as a humbucker, which, along with eliminating a lot of 60-cycle hum from your amplified instrument, also provide a
thick and beefy,
there's a little bit of treble loss tone that was very popular in the 1970s, 80s, and today, wherein two coils are wound in reverse direction of one another or wired as such, and then attached to magnetic fields that are inverted north-south. This is done so to buck hum, or cancel hum, by having
two inverted signals
coming in at the same time and getting rid of 60-cycle hum, which is a prevalent problem in the electrical systems in our houses. But here's the thing. Practical knowledge about electronics used to be much more prevalent. People used to know how to make things, fix things, repair anything themselves. And so the technology for bucking hum had already existed in many other electronics before the electric guitar was invented. And so it was quickly put to use in a lot of the early pickups. Humbucking pickups were used in the mid-1930s by Audio Vox, Hanbert, National Supro, probably others. In fact, in the April 1939 edition of Radiocraft magazine, there was even an how-to article to make your own humbucking pickup at home with saw blades as the pole pieces. If you want way more information on the topic of the history of humbuckers than you possibly could ever need, right here. The Eastman has 22 frets, the Rickenbacker, 23. The Eastman has a compensated bridge, whereas the Rickenbacker is compensated but not thoroughly or accurately. Now, this is the original bridge, which is compensated for intonation. However, it is compensated for intonation for guitar strings from the 1930s, which were a different construction and generally of a higher gauge. Looking to this 1965 Fender Mustang, you see a vibrato unit. Surely that's a new invention, right? Wrong. Doc Kaufman famously worked with Adolf Rickenbacker and Leo Fender. K&F was one of the early companies Leo Fender had with Doc Kaufman, K and F. He invented a Vibrola vibrato tailpiece in 1928, applied for a patent in 29, and got it in 1932. And Rickenbacker was one of the first people to put it into good use. I've also seen them on old Weissenborn tenor guitars, but it made it onto a lot of the Rickenbacker Spanish electric variations. And Doc Kaufman helped Adolf Rickenbacker come up with the electromechanical vibrola unit that is on this 1938 guitar that I made an entire video about. Now, because Leo Fender was wanting to build a practical factory, kind of like a Henry Ford-inspired guitar factory, he made his guitars modular, meaning the neck was separate from the body and bolted on. And this seems like a futuristic convention when he came out with the Esquire circa 1949, 1950, but 1935, bolt-on neck. Another convention that was adopted heavily by Fender was the string-through body design, where the strings pass through the body before they come up to the tailpiece and bridge. 1935. So, what advancements in guitar development have endured? What inventions have become standard on a guitar that weren't on them at the very beginning? Well, I know what you're thinking. What about guitars made out of ironing boards? Surely those have caught on.
It's not a gourd, it's not a sword, it's not a fjord, it's guitar anymore.
And guitars made of chairs are pretty popular, right?
One day, the man sat on the chair and poof, it turned into a guitar.
What about guitars made out of houses, shaped like houses, with houses on top? Surely they're popular.
This hardworking man turned his porch into a guitar.
I can name a couple. The adjustable bridge. Being able to adjust intonation and individual string height is modern. But it's not that modern. It's still like 75 years old probably at this point or older. Active electronics, they exist. People like them. More people dislike them than like them, and they are not a standard feature in most instruments. What else? Oh, the compensated gear ratio tuners is an unconventional development. Again, it's a very expensive add-on. It is not a standard feature, and it's not going to be adopted. It's not that important of an upgrade that anyone is interested in really paying for it. I mean, some people are. What else? I mean, there are little things like 0 frets or compensated nuts.
Let me tell you, as a luthier, I get no respect for my wife. No respect. Every time I come home from work, she's like, if you're such a good luthier, how come you got compensated nuts? Whew, I tell you.
All things that don't endure, aren't standard, haven't made their way to become a piece of the typical guitar. Another couple outlier inventions could include the amp in case guitar, but there were console lap steels from the 1940s that were already doing this. I can think of the Harmony Consolette off the top of my head. Oh, and actually now that I think of it, the British rendition of the Rickenbacher Electro-Spanish was often sold with a tube amp in case. Amp in guitars, also something that came about in the 1940s. My friend Chris Van Allen has a lap steel with a tube amp built directly into the body. Is it in a standard Spanish playing electric guitar? No, but that's because they were not popular. Hawaiian music and Hawaiian guitars were the dominant form of electric guitar for the first 20, almost 30 years of the guitar's existence, the electric guitar's existence. All this to say, you can see I clearly have an opinion that the electric guitar has not changed a lot over its history of nearly 100 years. But let's listen to these two guitars side by side and see if it has changed sonically. All right, the first AB, everything's dimed. 10, 10, 10. Least coloration on the sound possible from the pots or caps. On my Yamaha JX35, all the equalizers are at 10. I have my master volume all the way up and my volume at probably 1. No reverb, no coloration.
Let's juice it.
Well, effing F. I really thought those demos would sound better because I hooked up the interface and I put 2 mics on the amp, and guess I just didn't dial it in well. They sounded like shit, but they both sounded like shit the same amount. They had different coloration. The Rickenbacker is definitely more treble heavy, has more clarity, and the Eastman was more subdued. I don't think either had more output, but because of the greater dynamics in the Rickenbacker, it felt like it had more output. I should note also, the Rickenbacker, the magnets diminish over time significantly, and I have not recharged them. So that's after 91 years of diminished Goss, and it's still going strong, regardless of whether the magnets could be stronger. Super curious what you thought about it, and also, what did I miss? What modern inventions are on guitars now that weren't on guitars 90 years ago? Anything?
One day the man sat on the chair and poof, it turned into a guitar. So this gave the man an idea. Let's try again. So he puts a chair on it, he sit down and he tried the magic snaps. Nothing. He tried the magic wand. Amplificateur, guitar, le chord, let's go.
The new guitar board from Lloyd's. The most fun you can have on 3 legs.
It's not a gourd, it's not a sword, it's not a fjord, it's guitar board. All the cool kids, L and S.
100% cool kids are Ellen and Essen.
Every time you don't L or S, I'm gonna cut the face off of you.
You understand me?